Welcome to the session. In the earlier sessions, we had seen about the introduction to the SQL structured query language and introduction to MySQL. So, we had seen several category of commands in the SQL. One is the data definition language commands, the data manipulation language commands, the data control language commands and the transaction control language commands. So, the example DBMS that I had selected is MySQL. Let us see how these commands works in MySQL. What is the syntax and what is the thing that we can write in the as the part of the query in order to retrieve the information using SQL of MySQL. So, let us start with the data types that it supports. As I told you in the earlier session that in order to create a table using a DDL command, you have to write the column name as well as the data type that it supports. So, for each and every attribute or for each and every column name that we select in the table, we have to select the data type associated with that attribute. So, MySQL supports a number of SQL data types in several categories, namely the numeric types, date and time, string types, the spatial types, enumerated data type, likewise. So, in any language, like suppose if you take the case of C language, any procedural language like C, the object oriented language like C++, any programming language in computer science, if we select, it starts with the data types. What are the data types that language supports? Likewise, in structured query language also, the similar category of data types it supports. So, let us see the numeric data types. MySQL supports all standard SQL numeric types, like we call in C a kind of int for integer. Likewise, in integers also you have the small integers, long integers. There is so in order to cater to the requirements of the users. So, here in numeric data type of MySQL, you have the integer, small int, decimal and numeric. All these four are the keywords. So, you have to write, suppose if you want to declare an attribute, a column name as an integer, you have to write integer. You can give the size also. Suppose if you want to have 2 as the size, integer within brackets you have to put size. Like small int also you can give size, decimal for the numeric for the decimal floating type of data, and then this approximate number numeric data types, float, real, double precisions, these are for the decimal kind of data types. So, float is supported in SQL, MySQL, real is also supported, and there is another data type called as the double precision. So, the keyword int is synonym for the integer. No need of writing integer as a part, you can cut short and you can write the keyword as int, and within the braces you can put the size. Likewise, for the decimal you can put DEC, and fixed are synonyms for the decimal. Okay. Then comes the date, date time and then the timestamp. The date type is used for values with a date part, but not the time part. It only covers the date data type. Whenever an attribute, if we want to put some submission date as a column name, suppose if you want to put the date, then you can select the date data type, and the format that it supports is year with 4 characters, then follows the month, then follows the day. This is the format the date data type supports. The range that it supports is 1000 in the year for year field, then month 0101 as the day, till 9999 12 31st tak. So, this is the range that it supports under the date data type. Then comes another data type called as the DATETIME. Normally this date time data type is used for the log parts. So, whenever you want to register a log kind of thing, wherein which it has to record the date as well as the time also, then we keep that particular field as the date time field. So, it contains both the date as well as the time part. MySQL retrieves and displays date time values in the format, as I told, the date remains the same, and then the time part 2 characters for hours, and then followed by minutes 2 characters, and then seconds 2 characters. So, this is the format that it supports. Range is given on the slide, just follow the range. Then comes the timestamp. The timestamp data type is used for values that contain both date as well as the time part, and the range is given over there. Date, time and timestamp data types offer automatic initialization and updating to the current date and time. So, in the date part, only if you select the date data type, those particular things the user needs to input the date. For the date time and timestamp data types, automatically the data will be updated with the automatic updating of the current date and time from the systems or the servers. So, this is the basic difference between both. Then comes the string data type. The string data type supports CHAR, VARCHAR, binary, VARBINARY, big and large objects, then text, and then enumerated. So, here just like the procedural language C programming, for character we have to read the number also, how many characters that particular variable contains. Likewise, here also you have to give the size. Like in the where characters, it is a kind of dynamic string, it supports the dynamic string. Then binary for binary type, VARBINARY for variable binary type. Just see one by one. CHAR and VARCHAR types are declared with a length that indicates the maximum number of characters you want to store. Suppose if you give the size of char of 30 to any field, obviously it reserves 30 characters for that particular field, even though the data contains only 4 characters. However, as you had provided the constant 30 over there in the data type, it obviously reserves 30 characters even though the data is only for 4 characters. So, that is why you should be very careful whenever you are declaring the data type for the field, you should be very careful whether to declare char or varchar. In the varchar, columns are variable length, and that particular length value ranges from 0 to 65,535. The effective maximum length of varchar is subject to the maximum row size and the character set that is used. And then comes the binary and VARBINARY. In the earlier thing we had seen the characters and the variable characters which stores the characters. Here it does not store any characters, but it supports the binary format. The binary and VARBINARY types are similar to char and varchar. However, these particular binary and VARBINARY stores the binary strings, not the normal language strings. However, this particular binary and VARBINARY stores the binary things, that is they contain only byte strings rather than the character strings. Suppose if you want to give the data type to name, it is better to give varchar of some size 25, 30, whatever the thing may be. You should not give the binary or VARBINARY. Suppose if you want to store some binary data, then give that particular field a data type called as binary or VARBINARY with some specific size. So, this means that they have no characteristic for this particular data types, and sorting and comparisons are based on the numeric values of the bytes in their values stored in the data. Then comes the blob and the text. Blob, the full form is binary large object. Suppose if you want to store a photograph, a picture, in the database. So, the supported data type in that particular table is the blob data type. Here you want to store the photograph of a person or else an image. So, it obviously contains the large data, large variable amount of data. So, you can't declare it as a numeric, in decimal, otherwise you have to declare it as a blob. Suppose if you want to store text in the database running to some 2 paragraphs. So, you should not use the data type called as string, varchar, otherwise you have to use the text data type. For the binary large object, you have several types of blobs called as tiny blob, normal BLOB, medium blob and long blob. Depending upon the size of that particular picture or else the image, you have to, or the object, you have to select the blob type also. Then comes the text data type. Likewise, as you have in the blob, there are 4 categories. You have in the text also, you have 4 kinds of categories called as tiny text, text, medium text and long text. Depending upon the requirement of the data in the database, you have to select the data types as well. These are the frequently used data types. One is character with size, varchar, integer, small int, float, double. So, these are the frequently used data types in MySQL. Try to remember all these particular data types along with the keywords and along with the spelling. So, coming to the SQL command part, let us start with the creation of database. So, database consists of tables. Suppose if you have, for example, if you want to design a database for a library, then what are the entities you have? So, to start with, a database name needs to be selected, like a library. This is meant for library. So, create database library. So, the database name will be library. Under that particular library database, you have collection of related tables, like one table may be student, the other table may be faculty, the other table may be books, and within the books you have several categories of books like journals, reference books, other books, and even you have several categories also like humanities, like subject wise also like humanities, like other subjects. So, in order to group these particular tables under one name, you have to select the database name. In order to create a database, this is the syntax. What it says, create database, and you have to give the database name. For example, here I had taken create database, my database. So, I am giving my database as the name to the database that I am going to create. Under this my database, you will have data tables. So, the next command we are going to see is the table creation. The table creation command requires, as you have in that the database name, here we have to give the table name and we have to specify the field along with the data type. So, these 3 things you have to remember whenever you want to create a table. So, the syntax is create table, you have to give the table name, start braces, then column name you have to mention, along with that particular column name, whatever the data type that it should support, that needs to specify here along with the size. Size is option. Then column name 2, corresponding data type you have to give, column number 3, data type you have to give. Other than this, you can mention the constraint also. As we had seen in the earlier sessions, we had talked about various keys like the primary key and the other keys. So, that particular constraint also can be mentioned over here. Let us go through an example. Here I had taken student as the table name. So, the command that I have to give is create table, table name I am taking it as student, and the first column name is SID, student ID, and the data type I am giving is character of 9 size and not null, it should not allow null, not null, name, then I am giving the corresponding data type, that is varchar of 30 size variable, then age integer, department, and then here you can see I am giving a key constraint, or else I am giving a primary key constraint. I am keeping the primary key as student ID. So, student ID will be the primary key for this table. So, down you can see a student table is created with the following fields SID, name, age, and then department. This is how it goes. Like, let us see the another example. Create table tutorial, tutorial ID not null, and I am giving here the auto increment. So, it starts from 0 or 1, whatever the initial value that we mentioned, and it auto increments, and that TID I am taking it as the primary key. You can see here one thing you can notice, whenever I am parting two words like submission date, so I am not combining submission date as one word, however I am placing an underscore, you can see over here, this is the notation that we follow in the MySQL. Whenever we want to separate two words, you have to give underscore, and here primary key I am identifying as tutorial ID as the primary key. Like down you can see the name of the table is tutorial, and the fields are tutorial ID, tutorial title, tutorial author, submission date. So, these are the 4 fields I had created under the table tutorial, and TID is identified as the primary key. Likewise, you can see the third example, this is table name is person, and I had taken person ID, last name, first name, address 1, address 2, city, and then pin code, and here in this you can identify the PID, the person ID as the primary key. Here it is not been given, however you can include PID as the primary key if at all you want to identify PID as the primary key. Next comes the drop and alter table. This drop and alter table, this drop table comes under DDL command. We are completely dropping the table or else deleting the table from the database. Suppose if a database is consisting of 7 tables and one of the table I am not using, I can drop that particular table. Along with that table, the whole data will be lost. So, you should be very careful whenever you want to give the drop command. The drop table command deletes all the information about the dropper relation from the database. So, it is completely altering the definition of the database itself. So, you should be very careful, and this drop comes under the DDL command. Then comes the alter table. Here we are altering the table, and this also comes under the DDL command. Earlier, suppose if you have 4 columns like SID, name, then address 1, address 2. Suppose if you want to include a pin code also to the existing table, then you can include using this particular command called as alter table. So, the syntax will be alter table, table name, and the actions needs to be specified. So, you have to mention the table name, along with that particular table name you have to mention the actions. One of the following may be an action, adding an attribute or else adding a column, dropping a column, adding some primary key, dropping some primary key. So, these are one of the actions can be mentioned over there. Suppose if I want to alter the student table, I can write alter table student, I can add pin code. So, that is how this particular alter table command works. Let us see another thing called as the modifying the database. Suppose if you want to add a tuple, insert into table name the values. This particular command we are using in order to create a record, in order to create the values in the table against the columns. So, suppose if I want to provide the SID, the name, address 1, address 2, pin code. So, then I have to give some sort of values in for that particular database using this command insert into student values. You can provide the values here and then update the tuples, update table name, set the value where some condition can be given. Likewise, you can remove the tuple also, remove the record also. The tuple is nothing but the row or else the record. Completely you can delete the tuple or else you can update it with a new data. Next, insertion command can be used the way it is shown on the slide. Add a new tuple to the student, insert. I am here inserting the value into the table. Insert into student, values are under SID I am giving the value, name Rahul 20, library sciences department. Likewise, in order to add a new tuple, the second example is also given here, age set to null. So, this is the example for inserting the values to the data table. Then update. Suppose if you want to set all the records, department column name, every column of that particular department needs to be updated to library sciences. Then you have to give a command like update student, student is the table name, set department is equal to within single quote library sciences. Suppose if that particular table is consisting of 10 records, all the 10 records the department name is set to library sciences. Likewise, you can update the account also, wherein which on the slide you had I had given you the example update account, set balance is equal to balance into 1.06. So, that particular balance column will be holistically change it to balance into multiplication factor of 1.06. Likewise, you have another command for deletion. Suppose if you want to delete the record, delete records of all the students in the university and the table name given is student. So, what you can type is, what you can give is delete from student. It clears all the records, all the values of that particular table, it clears. Then comes only particular thing. Suppose if we are selecting only library sciences department students needs to be deleted. Then you can give a command like delete from student where department is equal to library sciences. So, here you are providing a kind of constraint, you are providing a kind of condition. So, it finds, it looks for the department library sciences and wherever it matches, that particular record is been deleted. So, all the library sciences department student records are being deleted. So, whenever you are using this kind of drop, delete and other things, you should be very careful. So, this is the basic query structure. Suppose if I want to select so and so columns from some tables and want to display them on the monitor. So, this is the syntax that I needs to give, selects so and so attributes, attribute 1 to attribute n from several tables, table 1, table 2, I can give one table also and I can give several tables also, wherein some constraints or else wherein some condition needs to be given. So, this is the basic query structure to be given against the database wherein which we can get the requisite information. Like in the relational algebra, the expression is something like this, it is shown, and the example is, suppose if I want to select the student ID name from one of the table called as student, in order to get the library sciences department students SID and name, I have to give the query similar to select, I want to select the student ID and the name of the student from the table called as a student where department is equal to library sciences. So, the student's name and the ID is being displayed for all the library science students. So, in this way we can query against the database and we can get the information. The select clause duplicate tuples. So, in order to eliminate the duplicates, we have to insert a keyword called as distinct after the select. So, all the duplicate names will be removed and only the distinct names will be published. So, select distinct name from student. So, then the names of all students in the university after removing the duplicates will be displayed. So, here we are using the one keyword along with the select called as the distinct in order to remove the duplicates. Or else a wild character can also be used. Suppose if I want to display all the column names from student table, then I can use the command select star from student, which displays all the attributes of the student table. So, in this way we can go on querying using the select class. You can have as many examples as you can. In the course material also we had provided enough number of examples. You can try by using the database designed by you, the tables designed by you, and you can put on the queries in order to get requisite results. We can use the where class. Under the where class you have to specify the constraint also. So, comparisons are allowed like the less than equal to, greater than equal to, is equal to, not equal to, these kinds of comparison operators can be used, or else the logical operators also it allows, like and is the logical operator, or is the logical operator, not is the logical operator. So, along with the select clause, the condition also can be mentioned using where, and the comparison operator or the logical operator can be placed in order to get the requisite results from the database. Like here we had given one example, find names of all students in library sciences department with age smaller than 21. So, here I have to use the select names from student where department is equal to library sciences and age is less than 21. So, two conditions I had provided over here. Just see, one is the comparison operator I had used, the other is the logical operator I had used. The comparison department is equal to library sciences is the comparison operator, and the comparative factor I am providing over is age less than 21. So, I had used two conditions and I am clubbing with and, that is the logical operator. Then you can have aggregate functions. Suppose if you want to find the average of all the salaries in a salary table, average is the value, minimum, maximum, these are some of the aggregate functions that one can use along with the query. Then you can group also, group by attribute operate in this sequence. So, for example, if I want to group by department, group by some library science department, all the students. So, in this way the example is shown over there, select department, count distinct name as number from student group by department. So, then the number of students will be displayed under the department of anything, library sciences or computer sciences, whatever the case it may be. In this session we had seen various categories of commands, various syntaxes, and then how they will be used along with the examples in MySQL or been watched. You practice them all and see the results, whether they are giving the exact results or not. Whenever you are going to have some sort of errors, go through the syntax once again, correct them, and later on execute the query once again. Thank you.